Once again, brothers and sisters, it is good to be with you. All praises to the Most High. I'm your host, the Apostle Reuben of IUPR Bible Radio, podcasting out of Little Rock, Arkansas, to the true saints of the Most High God. Well, brothers and sisters, I'm back in Matthew 22. Just a short podcast episode. I'm not going to go into it with great detail, just pointing out a few key points in the parable. So let's begin. The book of Matthew 22 and 1. And the Messiah answered and spake unto them again by parables. Parables. Now again, brothers and sisters, parables, Christians call parables illustrated stories. But here's what parables really are. Psalms 49. Verse 3, just getting to the point. My mouth shall speak of wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall be of understanding. I will incline my ear to the parable. I will open my dark saying upon a harp. Brothers and sisters, a parable is a dark saying. It's a dark saying. One more, book of Psalms, 78, verse 1. Give ear, O my people, to my law. Law, incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old. So, parables are dark sayings of old. Old what? Testament. See, the book of Psalms and the book of Proverbs and the book of Ecclesiastes is the opening to the gateway in understanding parables. When you understand those three books, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to understand the parable that Christ is telling. But the Christians, they don't want you to know that. A parable is a dark saying. So, when we go back to Matthew, (22) verse 1. And the Messiah answered and spake unto him again by parables, and said, The kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son. Who is his son? Who is his son? Where would we need to go? He's telling a parable. So we have to go back. Let's go to Exodus. Exodus 4. Verse 21. And the Lord said unto Moses, When thou goest to return into Egypt, see that thou do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in thine hand. But I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people go. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, Thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. So the son is Israel. See, this is how you read the parables. Go back to the old writings of the Old Testament and look, who was this son talked about in Matthew 22 and 2? It was Israel. The marriage was for Israel. Now, to prove our point, let's go back to Matthew 22. Verse 2. The kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son. Who is the son? The son is Israel. Drop down. and sent forth his servants. The servants were the prophets, to call them that were bidden to the wedding. And they would not come. Let's read on down. Again, he sent forth other servants, which were the prophets, saying, tell them which are bidden, behold, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fatling are killed, and all things are ready. Come unto the marriage. Now this is a parable. Those that were of the Son were to come to the marriage. See, Christ is making a point. Now we're going to get on into the point. Let's drop on down. But they made light of it and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise. And the remnant took his servants, which were the prophets, and entreated them spitefully and slew them. He's talking about the prophets. But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth. Who was this king? God is the king. And sent forth his armies, and destroyed those murderers, the murderers of the prophets. Who murdered? Let's Matthew 23. Let's look at this. Now Christ is talking to the Pharisee here, and the Sadducee, and the scribes. Look at him. He says, ye serpents, ye generation of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell, the lake of fire? Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets, and wise men, and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify, and some of them ye shall scourge in your synagogues, and 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 persecute them from city to city. Watch this though. That upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias, whom he slew between the temple and the altar. So who was killing the prophets? They were. The people were killing, or I should say Israel was killing their own prophets. And Christ says, you guys are going to do the same thing. With those that I send out, you're going to, some of them ye shall scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from city to city, and kill and crucify them. You will be the reason they get crucified by Rome. That's what he's saying. You're going to be the reason. You. So when we go back to Matthew 22, verse 6, I'm starting verse 6. And the remnant took his servants and entreated them spitefully and slew them. But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth and sent forth his armies and destroyed those murderers and burned up their city. When did he do this? Let's go look at it when he did it. Because he says he's going to send forth his armies. What armies did he send forth to burn up their city? What army did he send forth to burn up the city? What army? Psalms 83. See, people don't realize when it says in the book of Daniel, when you go to the book of Daniel, then we're going to Psalms. When you look at the book of Daniel, chapter 4, Daniel 4:35. Daniel 4:35. It says, all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. See, God does not repute nations as nothing. Like it says in Isaiah 40, 50 through 17. 15 through 17. I'm sorry. So the same thing it says in Isaiah 40, 15 through 17 It says in Daniel 4:35, all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven. The army of heaven is the army that he choose to take over another nation. We're telling you. God went by the hand of a king of Assyria. God went by the hand of the Babylonian king, Medo-Persia. The kingdoms went down as God willed it to happen, all the way to Rome. All the way to Rome. All the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, what doest thou? There's nobody that can say anything. Who he wants to have the kingdom is going to have the kingdom. We need to get real about this. So when Christ says, let's go back to Matthew 22, then we're going to shoot right back to Psalms. Matthew, I want you to understand this. When he says in Matthew 22, verse 7, but when the king heard thereof, he was wroth, and sent forth his armies. The armies he sent forth we're about to look at, and destroyed those murderers, and burned up their city. Burned up their city. The book of Psalms 83. Real quick, and then we're going to drop on down. There's no way you can let this go. Get straight to the point. Psalms 83:1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. But let's look. Who is this? The tabernacles of Edom. The first on the hit list of the haters of God. The first, he is. The tabernacles of Edom, and of and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes. Hamites there, Hagarenes. But now, going back to Psalm 74, a cry has went out. So look at Psalm 74. Verse 4 again. Thine enemies, the enemy is Edom. The enemy is Edom. He is the one that has done what we're about to read. As the Romans, the two pictures up at the top on the right. That's how Romans looked. We don't have to play the game. They look just like the man at the bottom. Thine enemies roar in the midst of thy congregations. The congregations are Israel. They set up their ensigns for signs. A man was famous according as he had lifted up axes upon the thick trees. But now they break down the carved work thereof at once with hammers. Look what someone's doing, the enemies of God. They have cast fire into thy sanctuary. They have defiled by casting down the dwelling place of thy name to the ground. That's the temple. They said in their hearts, let us destroy them. Them. Who is the them? The them are the Jews. Let us destroy them together. They have burned up all the synagogues in the land. Do you guys not understand? When Christ says that they shall burn up the city, this is the event he was talking about. AD 70. What we're reading is AD 70 because you see the word synagogues. Synagogues don't appear to the New Testament. That's where you know what time period it was and who did it. The Psalm 78, verses 4 through 9, is the destruction of the temple in AD 70. And it shows you who did it. It was the Romans. They did it. The armies that burned up the city Christ was talking about in Matthew 22:7 was what we're reading here. Verse 7, they have cast fire into thy sanctuary. They have defiled by casting down thy dwelling place of thy name, or the dwelling place of thy name, to the ground. This is the temple. They're burning the temple down. When it says they have cast fire into thy sanctuary, the temple, they have defiled the temple by casting down the dwelling place of thy name to the ground. They're burning down the temple. And after that, they said in their hearts, Edom, let us destroy them together. They have burned up all the synagogues of God in the land. Every synagogue, they burned it. Fire. Fire. That's why it says in verse 9, we see not our signs. There is no more any prophet. No more prophets. Neither is there among us any that knoweth how long. How long the land shall be desolate. The Bible's real. The fire, we just read it. The synagogues were burnt and the temple was burnt. AD 70. Time frame. Synagogues, man. It tells you. This was after Paul. So when we go back to Matthew 22. Matthew 22, verse 7. But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth, and sent forth his armies. The armies was Rome, and destroyed those murderers. The murderers were the Jews, and burned up their city. The city was the temple and the synagogue. The temple and the synagogues were burned up their city. You see how it matches? Christ is telling a parable, but it's in the Bible. It's a dark saying of old. You have to read it. Watch this. Burned up their city. Now watch this. It says, then he said to his servants, the wedding is ready. Now it's ready. But they which were bidden were not worthy. Oh, were not worthy. What does it mean we're not worthy? Let's get Luke 15. Luke 15. Real quick, let's get to the point. Luke 15. Now, this is the story about what they call the prodigal son. Now, I'm going to read this verse and then we're going to drop on down. Luke 15 and 20. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion. A great way off. You got to understand, he's a great way off. We're going to have to explain to this. A great way off means he's in sin. And we're going to prove that. He saw he was a great way off and had compassion, grace, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. He know it was, but watch. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned, great way off. I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. So to be not worthy or no more worthy is when you're in sin. When you're in sin, you are not worthy. Again, we're showing you what it means. When you are in sin, you are not worthy. Sin. You're not worthy if you're in sin. That's why when we go right back to Matthew 22. Right back to Matthew 22. Verse 8. Then said he to his servants, the wedding is ready, but they which were bidden in sin were not ready. They were bidden and not worthy because they were in sin. That's why the city was burned up. And if you think of plan, brothers and sisters, when we go to Matthew 26, verse 45, I'm going to show you. Matthew 26, verse 45. You better pay attention to what we're reading. Then cometh he to his disciples, and saith unto them, Sleep on now, and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Who betrayed him into the hand of who? Judas betrayed him into the hand of the Pharisee, scribes, priests. Those were the sinners. The Pharisee, scribes, priest, Sadducee, Herodians. They were the sinners. We're telling you. He was betrayed by Judas into the hand of his people first. His people got him first. And then they took him to Pontius Pilate. So the sinners were the scribes, Pharisee, Herodians, priests. They were the sinners. So when we go right on back to Matthew, we know who. We got precepts, brothers and sisters. We can prove it to you. That's why it says, Then said he to his servants, The wedding is ready, but they which are bidden were not worthy because of sin. They were sinners. That's why he says, Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye shall find, bid to the marriage. Highways now, the highways. We're gonna get with that. So the servants went out into the highways and gathered together. Stop. Gathered together. Gathered together. I want you to notice it says gathered together. Now, who was gathering themselves together? Because it says his servants, which were the prophets, are gathering these men together. We're going to do this again. We're going to do this again in Matthew 23. I want to show you guys something. These servants are gathering people. Not just anybody is gathering these people together. The servants are. So let's got to put your thinking caps on, brothers and sisters, when you read this Bible. We're going to do it again. Christ says, Wherefore I send unto you prophets, and wise men, and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify, and some of them ye shall scourge in your synagogues, like Paul. And persecute them from city to city. Realism. Let's quit playing the games. These Christians and what they think they know. We're telling you, the prophets he sent would be from Israel. There was no other type of prophet. No other type. So going back, let's jump back. Hold on. Y'all need to pay attention. Verse 10. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all as many as they found. Found. Notice it says found. To find something, you have to be looking for it. Notice the wording. Both good and bad. Both good and bad. And the wedding was furnished with guests. Now, we're going to do this. It says those servants went out into the highways and gathered together. That's Zephaniah 2:1. Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired. before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you. So what he wants to do, and I'm going to show you the time period. We're going to look at the time period. He says, seek ye the Lord, all ye meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. What does it mean when it says ye shall be hid? What does it mean when it says ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger? Hid. Let's go to Isaiah 26. Isaiah 26. We're going to show you what that hid means. See, brothers and sisters, we're not about to play with them. Isaiah 26 and 20. It says, come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers. Enter into the chambers and shut the doors about thee. Hide thyself as it were for a moment. See, my people. It didn't say all people enter into the chambers. It didn't say all people. It says my people. Come, my people. My people is Israel. Second Chronicles. Second Chronicles 6. Just this small little verse. Second Chronicles, just get to the point. Second Chronicles 6 and 6. But I have chosen Jerusalem, that my name might be there, and have chosen David to be over my people Israel. His people is Israel. My people Israel. My people Israel. So when we go back to Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, chapter 26, in verse 20, we're showing you what it talks about in Zephaniah. Isaiah 26, verse 20. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation be overpassed. Until the indignation be overpassed. Well, who would his indignation be on? Who? Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. So now you see who the indignation is against. Edom. I mean, it doesn't matter what they say, brothers and sisters. It does not matter. The prophets see it, and the Christians hate it because they disagree with God. They truly do. They disagree because and it's not about just us teaching it. They just disagree with it. Oh, it's your understanding. No, it's not. We're reading it. There's no word. I guarantee you, brothers and sisters, there is nothing you can do when a verse is read to prove who the indignation is going to be on. The indignation is on Edom forever. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation be overpast. What is he talking about? Let's go to the next verse. Behold, the Lord cometh out of his place. That's the second coming of Christ, to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity, their sin. So he's coming in the second coming. In the second coming. To do what? Let's read it again. For behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. Come on, brothers and sisters, when Christ comes out of heaven, and the second coming is going to be a lot of death. But there will be some that are hid in the chamber in that day. And that day that Christ kills with death, they'll be hid in the chamber. meaning saved. So Zephaniah records the same thing. Zephaniah 2:1. It says, gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired. That nation not desired is Israel. Watch this. Before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff, fire, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you. It's going to come upon you. You have to gather yourselves together before this day comes. Before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you. That's why it says, seek ye the Lord, all ye meek of the earth. Meek of the earth. Meek of the earth. Psalms 25. What is the meek? Meek of the earth. What is the meek? Psalms 25. Verse 9. The meek will he guide in the law. Judgment is the law. The meek will he guide in judgment. And the meek will teach his way. His way is the law. The commandments. See, the meek are going to be guided in the law. And they're going to teach the law. See, the way of God, brothers and sisters, the way, when it says the meek shall teach his way, what is his way? The meek shall teach his way. Psalms 119, verse 30. I have chosen the way of truth. Thy judgments have I laid before me. Watch this. I will run the way of thy commandments. Psalms 119, verse 32. I will run the way of thy commandments when thou shalt enlarge my heart. God's way was his commandments. Watch this, verse 33. Teach me, O Lord, the way of thy statutes, thy laws, and I shall keep it unto the end. So when it says in Psalms 25, we're proving it, what the way is. Psalms 25, verse 9. That's why it says, the meek will he guide in judgment, the law, and the meek will teach his way. The way was his commandments. His way was his commandments. So the meek, when you go back to Zephaniah 2, Zephaniah 2, gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired, before the decree bring forth, before the day pass, as the chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you. Seek ye the Lord, all ye meek of the earth. The meek of the earth are guided in judgment and are teaching his way, which is his laws. That's the meek, which have wrought his judgment. See, which have worked his judgment. See, the meek worked his judgment. We just read this in Psalms 25 and 9. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. Where? In the chamber from the danger Christ is bringing. That's what it means to be hid. But as you can see, gather yourselves together. So let's go to the book real quick of Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 49. Just real quick, I'm going to show you this. Isaiah 49. Verse 18. Isaiah 49, 18. It says, lift up thine eyes round about, and behold, all these gather themselves together. Gather themselves together, and come to thee. As I live, saith the Lord, thou shalt surely clothe with them all as an ornament, and bind them on thee as a bride doth. Now, I want you to look at this. Who are these that are gathering themselves together? Because those that are gathering, I'm going to read this again. It says, lift up thine eyes round about, and behold, all these gather themselves together, and come to thee. As I live, saith the Lord, thou shalt surely clothe thee with them all. When we gather ourselves together, those that are gathering themselves together shall be clothed with them all. That's all the blessings, as with an ornament, and bind them on thee as a bride doth. Notice, as a bride doth, because going back to Isaiah 62, hold up now, Isaiah 62, verse 1. For Zion's sake I will not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest until righteousness go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth. And the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and all kings thy glory. And thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Lord shall name. Who is this thou? He's talking about Zion here now. He's talking about Zion. And thou shalt also be a crown of glory in thine hand of the Lord. Thou shalt also be a crown of glory in the hand of the Lord, and a royal diadem in the hand of thy God. Thou shalt no more be termed forsaken, neither shall thy land any more be termed desolate. So you know your land. You know your land is going to be in pitiful case anymore. But thou shalt be called Heshphibah, and thy land Beulah, for the Lord delighteth in thee, and thy land shall be married. Hold on. For as a young man marrieth a virgin, so shall thy sons marry thee. The ones that is marrying God is the sons, Israel. And as the bridegroom rejoiceth over the bride, who would that bride be? Israel. So shall thy God rejoice over thee. Understand who the bride is. The bride is Israel, as the Bible states. This is talking about Zion. Who is it about? All we got to do is drop back up to verse 1. For Zion's sake I will not hold my peace. For Jerusalem's sake I will not rest until righteousness thereof go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth. And the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness. All the nations are not going to be part of this. They're going to see it. But our uncircumcision, when I say our uncircumcision, our brothers that were uncircumcised scattered, when the time comes, they're going to come into it. Not the rest of the nations. And all the kings thy glory. And thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Lord shall name. Thou, Israel. That's why when we drop on down, for as a young man marrieth a virgin, so shall thy sons marry thee. Who is the thee? The Lord. And as the bridegroom rejoiceth over his bride, so shall thy God rejoice over thee. So we're showing you, when you look at these parables and how they write them, the bride is letting you know who the bride is. The bride is who's marrying God, and that is Israel. So when we go back to Isaiah 49, put these precepts together and you'll see. That's why it says, Psalms 49:18. Lift up thine eyes round about, and behold, all these gather themselves together and come to thee. Gather themselves together and come to thee. As I live, saith the Lord, thou shalt surely clothe thee with them all, as with an ornament, and bind them on thee as a bride doth. All those blessings. But notice it says, all these gather themselves together. Who's gathering themselves together? Israel. Again, you're going to see it in Isaiah 60, but it's going, and we're going to show you Isaiah 60. Here's a prophecy they barely read. It says, arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Who is this talking about? Pay attention. And the Gentiles shall come to thy light. Pay attention. And the Gentiles shall come to thy light. Pay attention. And the kings to the brightness of thy rising. Lift up thine eyes round about, and see, all they gather themselves together. They come to thee. Thy sons shall come from far, and thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side. Oh, here we go. Here we go. When you're paying attention, when it says all they that gather themselves together, they come to thee, it's talking about Israel. Thy sons shall come from far. From far. See, thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side. Whose sons? You got to think about that. Shall come from far. Who? You got to see the reason why Ezekiel chapter 11, this is why the sons shall come from far. And even before I do that, Ezekiel 11, verse 16. Watch this. This is why it says, thy son shall come from far. Ezekiel 11, 16. Therefore say, thus saith the Lord God, although I have cast them far off among the heathen, them far off among the heathen, talking about Israel, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet I will be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries whither they shall come. Those that were far off were the Israelites far off among the heathen. These verses go together, brothers and sisters. The Israelites were far off among the heathen. That's why it says in Isaiah 43. Isaiah 43. Again, verse 5. We're going to read 5 and 6. Isaiah 43 and 5. Fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from the east, and gather thee from the west. Thy seed is Israel's seed. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from far. The sons that are coming from far was Israel. Israelites, scattered Israelites from far. From far. And my daughters from the ends of the earth. Bring my sons from far. And when you go right back to Isaiah 60, what's attention, brothers and sisters? Isaiah 60, in verse 4, it says, now, look at this. and the Gentiles shall come to thy light. Notice it says the Gentiles. The Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. Lift up thine eyes round about and see, all they gather themselves together. They come to thee. Those that are gathering themselves together are what? Thy sons shall come from far. Who sons shall come from far? Israel's. And thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side. Those that are gathering themselves together were the sons and daughters of Israel. We know this. We see it. We're reading it. That's who was gathering themselves together before the decree comes that is going to burn. Kill Christ. That when that decree of his second coming comes and he destroys, kills, burns, slices. So we go back to Matthew. We go back to Matthew 22. When it says, those servants went out into the highways and gathered together. They wasn't gathering anybody. This is when the Christians say they gathered together as many as they found. That's the Gentiles. Those are the other nations. No. You will not see the nations being gathered together. What you read in Zephaniah 2:1, Isaiah 49:16, Isaiah 60:4, those that were gathering themselves together to come to the Lord was from Israel. The servants were the ones that were. Let me show you something, brothers and sisters. I want you to make this plain. Make it make sense. The book of Revelation, because it says the servants. Revelation, whoa boy, I tell you. Chapter 7. We're just going to read. And these things I saw. After these things I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, the ends of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, and the wind, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea with war, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of God in their forehead. Now let's see. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. There was no servant from anywhere else but from Israel. These Gentiles that are teaching the Bible today, no. The Caucasian. See, this is why, brothers and sisters, this is the reason why I put this picture up. And Negroes get mad because they know it's true. They did not read the text carefully. They went with his thoughts, and they love him, and they want to fulfill his thoughts. They don't care about what the Bible says. They're going to put up the word racism, bigotry, hatred. They're going to put up all that because they love him. Find me bigotry, racism, and all that. Now, we can prove racism in Ezra 4, but those are carnal little words of emotion that they use when they hate God, because all we're doing is reading the book. They just don't agree with it. The servants would be out of the children of Israel. There's no such thing as a servant being of another nation. So we go back again to Matthew. We're showing you. Through time, it would be from Israel. They would be those servants that were sealed. And we're going to seal the rest of our people, which are God's servants, in their foreheads as well with the law. Like it says in Isaiah 8:16. So when we go back to Matthew 22, notice verse 10. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all as many as they found. They found these, both good, both bad and good, both in sin, both that were keeping the law. But we're going to show you why it says both bad and good, because bad is going to portray good and try to sneak into the wedding feast. Someone is going to try to sneak in. We're going to go on down and see who that was. And the wedding was furnished with guests. So the wedding was furnished with guests. Furnished. And when the king came in, which is Christ, to see the guest, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. He was naked. He was naked. He had no garment on. And that goes right along with Revelation. Revelation chapter 16. That's why this is written. Revelation chapter 16. Verse 15. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments. Keepeth his garments. Keepeth them. Lest he walk naked, which is in sin, and they shall see his shame. They shall see his shame. So when we go back to Matthew 22, verse 11, and when the king came in to see the guest, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. Why? Because he was in sin. Remember, they said up in verse 10, those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all as many as they found, both bad and good. Because it's going to happen. But we're going to show you. This is letting you know, brothers and sisters, sinners will not enter into the kingdom. This is letting you know that sinners, 1 Corinthians 6, verses 9 and 10. See, bad and good. The good were the law keepers. And the wedding was furnished with guests. And when the king came in to see the guests, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. Why? Because he was in sin. He didn't keep it. But watch. And he said unto him, friend, stop. Friend. Friend. Now that's I'm gonna stop right there. If you notice, brothers and sisters, every word has to be proven. Almost. Can't let nothing slip you. He said, friend, how camest thou in hither not having a wedding garment? How did you get in here? And he was speechless. Now he said, friend. So, Second Chronicles. See, the Christians, we get you every time. It says, friend. Second Chronicles 20:7. Are not thou our God, who didst drive out the inhabitants of the land before thy people Israel, and gavest it to the seed of Abraham, thy friend forever? See, question mark. But The seed of Abraham was God's friend. Friend. The nations were not his friend. You got to understand when Christ says friend, this is what he's talking about. The friend. The seed of Abraham was God's friend. Look again. Isaiah 41. We're looking at the friend. Isaiah 41. This goes to show you who the wedding feast was for, like we've been telling you. When it says go out and gather together, we wasn't gathering other nations. Other nations were not his friend. There was only one. Isaiah 41:8. But thou, Israel, art my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen. The seed of Abraham, my friend. The seed of Abraham, which is Jacob, which is Israel, is his friend. Friend. Again, Zechariah. You got to write these precepts down, brothers and sisters, because Christians, man, they know this isn't that old time song. Oh, what a friend we have in Jesus. Yeah. The only friend Christ and the Father had was Israel. Here we go. Zechariah 13:6. And one shall say unto him, what are these wounds in thy hands? Then he shall answer, those with which I was wounded in the house of my friends. Who is the house of his friends? Israel. Come on now. Important you understand these verses. So when we go back to Matthew 22, verse 12. Then he saith unto him, friend, because the one that didn't have on a wedding garment, friend, how camest thou in hither not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. But watch this. Then said the king to the servants, bind him hand and foot, take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. This is the friend that he's casting into outer darkness. We keep telling you, brothers and sisters, these wicked Israelites that support lawless claims and bow down, the Israelites that bow down to Esau and his theology, they will be bind hand and foot and cast into outer darkness. Outer darkness. Let's get the book of 1 Samuel. I know you were like, well, what are we going to 1 Samuel for? But let me show you that darkness. 1 Samuel 2. First Samuel 2. Verse 8. He raiseth up the poor out of the dust, and lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill, to set them among princes, to make them inherit the throne of glory. The throne of glory is Christ's kingdom. This is a prophecy. These men saw the kingdom. The kingdom is everywhere in the Bible. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. He has set the world upon the pillars above the earth. Who is that world? Who is that world? Isaiah 45:17, partner. He will keep the feet of his saints. He will keep the feet of his saints. The saints are the children of Israel. Psalms 148:14. Deuteronomy 33:1 and 2. Psalm 49 verse 1 and 2. Come on, man. We know who the saints are. He will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked, the sinner, shall be silent in darkness. For by strength shall no man prevail. Slavery. Captivity. That's the outer darkness Christ is talking about. This. He's going to be put with the wicked, the heathen, in darkness. See, the heathen is the wicked. Psalms 59. Psalms 59. Verse 5. Let's prove that. It says, Thou therefore, O Lord God of hosts, the God of Israel, awake to visit all the heathen. Be not merciful to any wicked transgressor. The heathen is the wicked transgressor. The Gentile is the wicked transgressor. The Gentile is the wicked transgressor. So when we go back to 1 Samuel 2, we're almost done, brothers and sisters. 1 Samuel 2. Verse 9. He will keep the feet of his saints, the children of Israel, and the wicked, which is the heathen, the Gentiles, shall be silent in darkness. For by strength shall no man prevail. So the wicked is who's going to be put in darkness. But wait, we go back to Matthew. Matthew 22. Verse 12. And he said unto him, Friend, the friend was Israel. This was an Israelite. Because that's all that was coming to the wedding feast in the first place. Those were the only ones that were gathering themselves together in the first place. But nobody else coming to this wedding feast but Israelites. That's why it says, Friend, how camest thou in hither, not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. And the king said unto the servants, bind him hand and foot, tie him up, and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness, where the wicked are going to be. The Gentiles are going to be in darkness. No man is going to be able to prevail when the kingdom of Christ comes. Slavery. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, suffering. So Israelites will be with the wicked, which is the Gentiles. If you are a sinful Israelite and you don't want to repent of your sins, you're going to be right with the heathen in darkness and with the weeping and the gnashing of teeth. This is that parable. That's why he says, for many are called, but few are chosen. See, he was telling this parable straight up. But you never knew it because in order to understand the parable, you have to have the Old Testament. And with that, brothers and sisters, all praises to the Most High. I just wanted to go over the parable of the wedding feast one more time to show that, you know, when you see something like verse 10, so those servants which were Israelites went out into the highways and gathered together. The gathered together was Israel gathering themselves together to come unto the Lord. What do you mean? To come unto the Lord? To come unto him. But nobody else. That's why it uses the term in verse 12, and he said unto them, friend. The friend of God was Israel. Nations were not his friend. This was a parable. You needed the Old Testament to see who the friend was. The friend is Israel, letting you know that Israelites, because of sin, will be kicked out of the kingdom in darkness with the Gentile. The Gentiles were never his friend. The only friend he had was Israel. That friend has to be proven. There was an Israelite there That's why when you go back up, it says bad. It says, so those servants went out into the highways and gathered together as many as they found, both good and bad, or bad and good. I'm sorry. Read so much, I'm just reading screwed up right now. Let me finish. Let me do this. I'm looking for something. Let me read it over. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all as many as they found, gathered together. Israel was the ones that were to gather together. That's why I showed you Zephaniah 2:1, Isaiah 49:18, and Isaiah 60:3-4. We're going to gather ourselves together to come to him. That's that gather together. But we gather together both bad and good. Both came to. And see, when it says both bad and good, and the wedding was furnished with guests, we can go back both bad and good. What's going to happen? Are you seeing, brothers and sisters, when Christ said, throw him in the outer darkness? This is what he was saying. We're going to get it described clearly here. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity. He's going to take them out of his kingdom and cast them into outer darkness. Watch. And shall cast them into a furnace of fire, and there shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Outer darkness. Suffering with the heathen. Over and over. These are things Christians, they don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about this. The parable of wedding feast was Israelites only. Man, I tell you, these Christians trying to get into some place they don't fit in or never did. With that, brothers and sisters, all praises. We'll be back with you another day. Peace be unto you. May God be with you in all praises.